Hi, everybody. The next the two modules for this week are a little bit more detailed and cumbersome to understand if you are from outside the field of education. So I have outlined the two sets of notes. One is the New York State Learning Standards, and the other set will be Collaborative Teaching 1 and 2 by means of a PowerPoint. So this is somewhat of an outline of what you're going to find in your notes for these two slideshows. In the first PowerPoint slideshow, New York State Learning Standards, it's very important that you understand that we as school librarians need to know all of the other content area standards because we need to cite these in all our lessons and our units in the work we do, because we need to keep pinpointing that the work that we do is collaborative with content area teachers. The other thing that's important to understand is that the word standards is used very, very loosely in education, and when people talk about the word standards, what they really mean is not only the standard itself, but the indicators, the key ideas, the core ideas, or whatever those pieces are for the individual standards. The other thing you need to understand is that for New York State, the major learning standards for the major content areas are not developed according to the same format. So that it's really important to go to each one of them and start to browse around and get some idea as to how you can actually locate the information you need. In the slide that says New York State Common Core ELA and Literacy, we're going to start looking at the New York State standards through the English Language Arts standards, because those are the most closely related to the work that we do, which is inquiry and teaching information literacy and teaching technology. And there is actually a strand in the ELA, Common Core, that talks about research to build and present knowledge. For the Common Core ELA standards, there are two parts: the college and career readiness anchor standards, which are the same for every grade level, and then the descriptors of the indicators, which vary for each grade level. For this project that you're going to be doing now, going just to the college and career readiness anchor standards would be fine. To find the website to access the New York State Common Core ELA, please go to the Standards Notes in Content. The next framework we're going to be looking for is the Common Core Social Studies Framework. There are two parts to these, or actually there are two frameworks. One is a K through 8 framework. The next is a 9 through 12 framework. I think you'll get the most out of how these are developed if you go to the K through 8, because they are arranged by grade level. But within the social studies framework, there are pieces in front of every grade level that are really relevant to the type of inquiry teaching work that we do. They're called social studies practices. They are inquiry-based. They're even research process-based. What you really want to look at, however, are the grade level key ideas and concepts. And that's the content that students learn in social studies at each of the grade levels. The next of the learning standards are the next generation science standards. These are the newest of the standards for New York State. They're currently in draft format, but it's looking really, really very much like they are going to be implemented. people are starting to use them now. You even used them when we did the research process blog assignment. The website to access them is in my Learning Standards notes in content. These are organized by grade level and then by large topics. For example, you will see 3, meaning grade 3, and then the large topic, interdependent relationships in ecosystems. What you really want to look at is in the middle of the page is going to be the disciplinary core ideas for content that should be learned for that standard. Then you should look above at the part that says students who demonstrate understanding can, and look at the clarification statement, because I think you'll see that they will align with our inquiry standards. But also note that the Common Core ELA standards that relate to that particular grade level standard are listed at the bottom of the page. You will see the reading informational text, which comes from the Common Core ELA, indicators, descriptors that apply to the work for that particular standard, and there is also the writing, which is W, the Common Core ELA. So that kind of saves us a step. If we go first to the next gen science standards, they are already aligned to the Common Core ELA for us. One other way you could search for the next gen science standards is by grade level and main idea. There are 3 main ideas to these new science standards: physical sciences, which ends up being PS, life sciences, which you may see in the next gen document as LS, and earth and space sciences, which you may see in the next gen science document ESS. All right, next slide. The next of the standards that we really should be concerned about are the technology standards. And they come from ISTE, which is the International Society of Technology Educators. You really want to use the standards for students. The website for that is in my Learning Standards notes, but let's never forget that we are also teachers of technology. So your question should be, what do I do with these? Well, you're going to have a culminating project for LIS 620, which is the development of an original web quest. You've already researched what a web quest is. You've looked at some sample web quests. For your original web quest, you must have the appropriate standards that are listed in proper form. So what is proper form? No, it is not bibliographic form. It means that you literally copy the standard, the indicator as you see it. In this case, you can cut and paste. Include any terms or numbers that relate to that particular standard. I believe that there is an example in my notes. Here are the standards you must have. You must have a content area standard, either the next gen science, preferably and the social studies, or the science or social studies. But you need to have at least one or more content area standards. You must have the Common Core ELA, at least 2 of them. You must have our inquiry from our standards for the 21st century learner, including 5 or more, including skills and dispositions. And that is the end of the slides for this presentation.